Hi Georgia, thanks so much for your week 5 folio pages that you've submitted. Week 5 was all about design development using the methods, media, materials and using different design elements and design principles. So thanks so much for doing the checklist here, which I've got up on screen. I'll just go through it really quickly why I've arranged the checklist in these 3 areas. So for each, method or media or material or even design elements and design principles, you notice that I've categorized them into a creative way, your technical proficiency and your appropriateness to your design brief. And there's a very good reason for that, and that is I'm trying to get students into thinking about how they use methods, media, materials and design elements and design principles in these 3 different ways, because your final presentations are actually marked against these 3 criteria. So when I look at your final presentations, I think about how creative you've been, I think about how technically proficient your work has been executed, and also how appropriate your finished results are according to the design brief and what you stated in your design brief. So that's why I've categorised them in this way. And it's great that you've given yourself a bit of a self-assessment, and you can compare this with my feedback. I think maybe in some areas you've been a little bit hard on yourself, particularly with the use of the elements. When I looked through, I saw lots of evidence of texture, colour, tone. I thought you were being quite creative. Your technical proficiency is really high too. The t-shirt template that you've got is beautiful and professional looking. So, you've got to go a bit easier on yourself, I think. So I'm just going to scroll through now to those pages you sent in. So I might have to reduce this a little bit on screen so we get all 4 pages up there. I'll have to look at, look, that's the best I can do because I want to be able to zoom in a little bit. Now obviously I can't read your annotations because the quality of the photograph, but I can see here that you are developing very different design ideas for the t-shirt, which is great. And you've got your t-shirt template, which makes it really easy, doesn't it? You don't have to redraw the t-shirt over and over again. It's good to see different shapes, so I hope that you've identified that design element and talked about the shape and what the shape is representing here. Is this splattered mud, or looks like blood, I guess, because it's red? Is this representing pain? Let's think about the idea a bit more and what you're trying to show. Again, you've got these sort of stripes coming down in an undulating pattern. What does that represent? Clearly a camouflage pattern that's been used here, and what that represents. The vertical stripes are interesting. When I look at that, I think about prison. Is there a reason that you've picked those? And if so, please make sure that your annotations are communicating that. Make sure also your annotations are constantly referring to your audience and which of these designs your audience is going to be, the most attracted to. Some might say the camo is more masculine, but certainly there's a lot more female people in the armed forces, so that is changing. But if you can make reference to that, it shows that your design thinking is very sort of high order, so it's important. It's good to have the flat colour one as well. What isn't evident on these is your development of typography. So to me, the typographies hasn't been developed yet. You're using the same typeface. It's all uppercase. It's all the same style. I think I mentioned that. So vary the scale of the 2 typeface. Make Swatkins bolder than the word boot camp, or make the word boot bigger than camp. Make some lowercase, make some uppercase, vary it around a bit. This is all positive typographic fill. What that means is that, it's all outlined and then filled in. But why don't you try somewhere it's just the outline of the text, so it's white text on a black background or on a coloured background. So try to vary those things up, and there should be at least 2 folio pages showing different typography styles and your investigation of appropriate typography. So get on the computer, print out different type styles, even go to a free font gallery like DaFont or Font Freak. If you need help with looking for that, then I can help you, but just type in, to a Google search free fonts and you'll get heaps of options back. when it comes to font, you know, you've obviously got to pick something that's appropriate, that looks strong, that's about fitness, but also try to be contemporary, because you want to, you know, this is happening now. This is a design for now and for the next couple of years. So try to pick something that's contemporary, that will appeal to your audience, and they'll think, yeah, this is this company's really switched on. They kind of get who I am and they understand modern design. So try to do those things. And here we have your, I've forgotten, isn't that terrible? You're doing a poster or a logo? Anyway, it looks like a poster. So that's right, it is a poster. So it's really good to see your different orientations here. You've looked at landscape format as opposed to portrait format. Again, I couldn't read your comments, but make sure you're referencing the end product all the time, you know. So how's this going to be printed? Where's it going to go? Have you done the right size? Is the size of your typography appropriate for the finished presentation? You know, if this is going to go on a billboard, then that size of type is probably quite appropriate. But if it's going to be an A3 poster, then maybe you need to make the type a bit bigger, because obviously you are promoting this company, so the name has to be front and centre. Again, as with your t-shirt design, you've really got to develop this typography. I remember now you're actually doing the logo, so I haven't seen any logo development here. So you've actually got to jump on the computer now, I think, and, you know, get your appropriate typeface, really develop the typeface, not just, as I mentioned before, positive space on a negative background. Try, you know, the negative type, so that means white on a coloured background, or even, you know, try a stroke, which is really just an outline. So you can try different coloured outlines with different colour fill in the type. You know, you've really got to think, when it comes to logo design and when you use typography, you've really got to concentrate and think carefully about the kerning and the leading. So the leading is the space between the lines of type. The kerning is the space between the individual letters. It's quite cramped here, and that might be fine. That might be the effect you're after, but the more tightly cramped words are, the sort of more immediate they look, and it looks a bit energetic and frenetic. But if you space out the space between the letters, it starts looking calmer and maybe more elegant. So keep those things in mind, because that's all important with communicating what your message is. And obviously this is a company that's about fitness, so, you know, think about all of the themes that fitness entails. So it's about being strong and healthy, and, you know, make sure you pick a typeface that really conveys that personality. The other thing that, excuse me, that hasn't been really evident here is your use of different materials and methods and media. So I've seen some colour here. There's digital printout. So colour, you know, you've applied using, is it graphic markers? So that's one media. What about pencil? That would be another media. I guess I can see pencil here, grey lead pencil. What about different materials? You know, it'd be good to see some actual real t-shirt material like cotton. I don't know if you're getting this t-shirt printed out professionally, but if there's some way that you could have like a sample that you could cut out a swatch of and actually put in your folio to show how the print is applied to the t-shirt and what the ink is like and how it sits on the t-shirt, that would be really good, because that's all part of your process as well. The other thing that's not evident is perhaps the way you've used methods and materials in a creative way. So, you know, you could do a photographic background here. You could cut up a photo from a magazine or a photo that you've taken to create a nice background or texture. You could stick this, you know, lovely drawing of yours onto, you know, a coloured piece of paper, you know, just all one flat colour. Or you could cut out different textures or even different materials, you know, like, let's think what you could do. You know, this ink splot thing here. Why don't you actually get some paint and do some ink splats onto paper, onto cardboard, onto fabric, onto, what other surface could you do it onto? Glass. You could put ink onto a glass and then put paper on top and do a print. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can explore methods and media and materials, and I just don't think you're making the most of it. maybe because you're a bit hesitant, and that happens a lot with students. They think, oh, it has to be always neat and always tidy, but absolutely not for criteria 4 and 5. For design development, it's all about playing and being really, really creative and trying things new and thinking outside of the box. So if you can try and apply some of that, that would really boost up your folio and you get higher marks for criteria 4. And criteria 4, remember, is your use of methods, media and materials. So it's, it's really getting there. There's lots of potential, Georgia, but you just need to push it a bit more to get into the high and very high range.